Hi, it's Maryalice here with Women's Growth Network, and I'm in my living room. It's Sunday afternoon, and I am just putting my feet up to relax for a little bit on this beautiful day. I hope your day's going well. I did say that I was going to do a video or a live stream sometime this weekend, and the weekend just is not allowing for a time for live stream at right now. So I wanted to do a video for you because there was something I wanted to share that came up for me, and it's really kind of big, actually, at least in my head. Maybe when I explain it, it won't be that big for you. I don't know. But I just want to say that I think for a lot of people who are familiar with me and follow Women's Growth Network and Change Your Aim, Change Your Life, are probably younger than me. And so I want to share this with you about life, something to consider, something to think of as far as the bigger picture. I think in life, we have to think of the bigger picture, even when things occur that seem crazy or hurtful or horrific or painful or whatever it might be. I mean, even wonderful times, happy times, celebrations, and parties and weddings and birthdays. I mean, fun times. We need to consider the big picture as well, because when we can see, okay, let me put a frame of reference as I'm 61 years old. I am a mother of 4 and a grandmother of 6. I have been around the block a little bit in life. I've had really, really, really sad and horrible times in my life. And I've had incredible, amazing blessings and blissful times in my life. And probably the majority of people probably have had the same kind of life as far as like kind of the ups and downs, right? It's like life can get hard, but then we learn. We have to learn. If we're not going to learn when life is rough, if we're not going to learn through our trials, through our pain, through our sickness, through our divorces, through death, if we're not learning, life is only going to keep trying to teach us those lessons, because we have to take stock in what we are experiencing in our life. Now, there's some people that would believe and say, well, it's something we brought on ourselves and the law of attraction and blah, blah, blah. I get that to some degree. I think there's truth in that to some degree, but I also think there are times when things occur that are like completely blindside us. And we need to take stock in that. We need to learn. And what I want to say is, now that I'm 61, I look back in my life and I think of the rough times I've had, the pain of losing my only brother to murder when he was 18, never resolved. And it's a cold case. And going through a difficult marriage, but the divorce was really awful and painful. And that was difficult. Losing my mother, losing other people around me, just the pain within my own mind and my own self of growing up and maturing and becoming emotionally and mentally and spiritually balanced and stable in life and responsible. I mean, there's so many lessons that we learn that are so paramount in who we are. You see, I also believe in our book, in the book that I wrote, my quote unquote research and what I've come across of learning about our childhood are very traumatic, for many of us, our very traumatic, abusive childhood, is that our genius, our brain is genius in that it wants us to survive. So when we go through difficult times of trauma, whether it's abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, or maybe even losing a parent at a young age, I mean, that's traumatic. Our brain is going to say, okay, we got to survive this. How are we going to survive this? Because we are all about survival. So we customize a coping mechanism or two to survive what we're going through because we can't make sense of it. So we have to figure out, how are we going to deal with this in life and still live and try to be normal, try to be happy, try to make friends. And we do that. So these coping mechanisms begin to take over and they become skills in our life. And when we're young, it's beautiful and genius and it helps us and it gets us through. But we carry it into our childhood, carry it through our teen years. It gets embedded, it gets habitualized, it gets very deeply embedded in our subconscious. And then these coping styles and these thought patterns and these perceptions that we've developed, all surrounding trauma and abuse, we suddenly believe, well, that's just who I am. And it's really not. There might be bits and pieces of you in these connections, but the real you has been covered. So what happens is we keep bumping up against life because we're not living who we really are. And so things will occur in our lives, whereas to get our attention. So we need to change. We need to grow. We need to learn. We need to build our faith. We need to build our minds and our bodies and our strength and our personalities. We need to understand who we really are. And one way we can do that is through gratitude and just any moment of the day. Be present. Be present in that moment. Do not think of the past. Do not think of the future. Do not think of tomorrow. Do not think of the next 10 minutes. But take a breath or two or three that are deep and stop your mind for a minute and just focus on this very moment that you have. It's all we have. The past is the past. So much of our lives is geared on our memories of the past. And it could be very good memories too, not just all bad. And I don't want to lump everything into a bad situation or negative thinking or bad background, but that everything we live by default, you've heard me talk about that. We live because of old memories, old experiences, old feelings, and then we bring it into the future thinking that's how everything's going to be. That's default living. We must live on purpose. We must use our brain. We must think for ourselves. We must stop being programmed to think a certain way because someone tells us to think a certain way, or to believe certain things because someone tells us to believe it. That goes back to our childhood. We are so programmed deeply with so many things that are unnecessary, that are harmful, that aren't correct, and yet we cling to them. We cling to them because it's a habit. A belief system is only a habit. It's a thought that's thought over and over and over and over. That's all. That's all what a belief is. It's something you think about and dwell on over and over and over and over, and then you begin to believe it because someone told you to believe it. So I'm saying all this, and I don't want to sound like I'm rambling. It's mostly that I really hope and pray, and my message to you is to live on purpose. Live on purpose. Live your passion. Live your purpose on purpose. And I know some of you don't even know what that is. You don't know what your passion is or what your purpose is. And mostly because you've been inundated with what other people have been telling you to believe and to think and how to act and how to live. You're not living your true purpose. So life is going to keep teaching us lessons until we get to the root of who we really are. And I know for me, there was a time in my life about, maybe 10 years ago or so, where I dropped every belief system that I could ever imagine that I had in my life, that anybody told me, whether it was a religion, out of the Bible, political, books I've read, friends, other experts. I mean, I just wanted to not think and hold on to something that was not true or helpful in my life. So I did that. To the best of my ability, I did that. Now, I wasn't perfect because I know that there's deep-seated, highly embedded thoughts and belief systems and programs in me that still need to be changed. But I did that for a long time, for as long as I could. And it was as if I was buried in the dirt of truth so that I could take root, that I could learn to change and believe what I was meant to understand, to believe, and who I really am. Who I really am. And it's still a work in progress. But those roots now are deeper. And I'm hoping the fragrance of the flowers that I produce are there to be helpful and beautiful and a sign of life and growth and change, and to make a bouquet of color in life, of beauty, of nature. We are born of nature, and that's never going to change. I say this because you are amazing, my friend, and you totally are a miracle on this planet at this time, right now where you are. And you matter. You matter so deeply. Who you are matters. What you have inside you matters. And you need to believe that. You matter. You do. Thank you for listening to this. And my prayer is that it's making sense to you. If you have questions, you can reach me. You can private message me here on Facebook. You can get a hold of me at Maryalice, Maryalice, at womensgrowthnetwork.com. All one word. Or you can contact me through even womensgrowthnetwork.com website. And in the menu bar is a contact page, and you can contact me there too. But in the meantime, have a great evening, because you really are amazing. Take your life seriously. Learn what you need to learn. Take a moment or 2 or 3 every day and be present in that moment. Just forget about everything else, because the past is the past, the future's in the future. It's only this moment that counts. Just be grateful. Have a good evening, and we'll connect soon. Thanks for listening. Again, get in touch with me if you have any comments about what I'm sharing or questions. I wish you all the best. Have a good night.